Okay, hello. I think that we're live here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's Skinterview here. My name's Stephanie Weber, and I'm here with Mr. Skin and Zoe Ligon, the Dildo Duchess herself. How are you doing?
Oh, so happy to be here. I was just saying that my boyfriend, I mean, myself included, but especially my boyfriend was a huge Mr. Skin fan. Everyone, it was such a great way to get all the nude stuff we wanted at a certain age and beyond. Like before websites were really, there was like collections of stuff. You guys were doing that. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Well, I've been a fan of dildos for many years too. So, but no, it's been 21 years of doing this, which is, I still shake my head. I can't believe that we've been able to have this job for 21 years. It's
Awesome.
pretty crazy. It really is.
I know. I want to interview you next. So
Oh. About my dildo collection.
Yes, absolutely.
It's funny because before you came on, I just did a quick search at our website because we do playlists of all different, like the best lesbian scenes of all time, the best skinny dip scenes, horror movie nudes. We have tons of compilation playlists, and I kind of had a feeling that we had something that would tie in to what you do. And I was looking. We have a playlist at Mr. Skin of celebrities and the greatest vibrator scenes of all time. We have
we just had I think a pegging one.
Yeah, the best pegging scenes is with strap-ons is pretty cool. We have a number of those. So I was trying to tie in a little sex toy thing into this, and of course
it's so relevant.
We have thousands of these playlists. Of course, we had already done some playlists on these topics. So.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up as well, because you're absolutely right that film, TV, all of that really influences people's sex toy purchases. And there aren't a ton of sex toy scenes that come to mind, but the ones that do come to mind are so influential. And I know that there's more, but my brain instantly goes to Sex and the City Rabbit episode, Sex and the City Hitachi Magic Wand, Broad City pegging episode. But also you mentioned horror, and I don't talk about this because it's not always relevant with sex, but I'm a massive horror fan, especially, I mean, it really tackles sexuality in a very unique way, especially trauma. And, it's a very interesting way of tackling things that people are afraid of talking about. It's like, if you don't want to make a comedy about it, you make a horror about a taboo subject. So that's fucking awesome.
And this month, and I'll let Stephanie's got a lot of great questions for you, but we just started October, and historically from like starting today all the way through the end of the month, we have there's so many horror themed lists and articles and features. And as you guys know, or anyone out there, I mean, horror movies and nudity, it's like, peanut butter and jelly. They go together so well. So it's a fun month at our website. And once you hit that October, it's a lot of horror stuff at the website.
Yeah, I'm so excited to dive into that. That's like my goals are to like direct a sexy horror movie one day.
Oh, really? Are you interested in getting into your own filmmaking?
Yeah, but like for hobby, not.
Gotcha.
I don't have any skills to contribute other than maybe being a scream queen, I'll get chopped up. I'll be the body. It's fine.
What are some of your favorite horror films, since you brought it up and we're in the right vein? I'm sure everyone's in the mood.
Definitely. I definitely liked a lot of exploitation and shocking, like 70s, 80s films. I think Possession for me, a 1981 Isabella Gianni. I can't recall any nudity, but it's certainly dealing with like body horror and birth of an alien. And then
that was at Isabella Gianni. Yeah, there was nudity in that. She showed her breasts a few times, but those are that's a classic. That's a fun movie that you remember. Not a lot of people remember that movie.
Oh yeah, that especially the subway scene. How can you forget that one? I mean, also I love Takashi Miike, Japanese.
Oh, interesting.
I love a lot of French stuff, like Martyrs is a insane one.
Someone
Definitely
just
nudity in
recommended
that.
to me. I've never seen Martyrs.
I had to quit watching it a few times because it was so intense. That's how you really know a horror movie is good. If you just want to be deeply disturbed on a deep level, watch that movie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there was a lot of mutilation cutting in that too. I remember. Yeah.
Definitely.
That is a rough one.
Oh, absolutely. One of the roughest I've seen. And I just finished reading House of Psychotic Women by Kier La Janice, and there's a lot of, it's basically just a study of women's psychosis or sexuality portrayed in horror. And there's certainly more films than the ones she rounds up, but I've been really trying to watch a lot of the ones that she talks about, everything from like creature features to, Antichrist and stuff like that.
Oh, great. I mean, and literally everything you've named has nude scenes in it. Like what Mr. Skin said, horror and nudity they just go hand in hand.
It's almost like a rule. You can't make a horror movie without great nudity. So.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I see that as being a future hobby of mine. So thank you for indulging me. Very relevant to all of our interests here.
'Tis the season. And like we had mentioned earlier, and some people tuning in right now might not exactly know what we're talking about when we're talking about sex toys, but you're the CEO of Spectrum Boutique. And I was wondering about your personal journey to starting Spectrum.
Absolutely. I started making porn art, like collage art with old nudie mags when I was like 18. I was just going to flea markets and record stores that had like catalog collections essentially. And I was like, let me be edgy and make some porn art.
Yeah.
Then a friend of a friend was like, if you're comfortable doing this, then you should really consider selling sex toys. And then I just fell in love with talking about sex toys because right around the same time, I was about 21. I was, starting to use sex toys myself. And I think it's so funny that like first sex toys I bought were like dildos and butt plugs. But what I really needed in order to become an orgasmic human was a magic wand. Shout out Sex and the City. And other things, other types of vibrators, external stimulation. But it was really a core piece of my sexual journey. Then I liked the store I worked at, but I still found that there was things I really wanted to change. Like I didn't want to sell crap that, just has a good markup and then it's going to break on you. I wanted to be able to curate the toys differently. And besides the curation aspect, one thing that makes our store really different is we aren't categorizing toys as, for her, for him, for couples, whatever. It's more just like, these are the vibrating things. These are the things that you can put on a dick. Here's some great stuff for your butt, more like functionality than whom they are intended for, which I think just kind of opens up the possibilities. Because besides, like putting stuff in, you don't want to put stuff in your butt that doesn't have a flared base. But besides that, the only limitation is your imagination.
With that being said, what do you advise for people when they want to try something new? You obviously can't try on a sex toy the way you would a jacket, but
definitely.
What do you advise someone that's curious about something, they're not really sure, how do you try something new when it comes to the world of sex toys?
It's certainly a bit of trial and error. I mean, everybody has gotten a toy that they're like, nope, this is too big for me, or what, whatever the case may be. I mean, definitely do, especially if you're shopping online, look at the dimensions, read all the things, read reviews. But aside from that, versatility is key, because if you're getting a vibrator, for instance, if it's like a external vibrator that you can't insert, you're kind of limiting the vibrator to one area, or, it's an external toy. If it's the first time buying a vibrator, for instance, I'll say get something that can be used internally or externally. So you have the option if you don't like using it one way.
Versatility, more bang for your buck.
Exactly. And always err on the side of getting something a little bit smaller, because even if it's not exactly the size you want, it's better to have something that, you know, you're able to use versus something that is, you know, way too big for you. Although, you know, the human body can definitely take a lot of size, but, you know, as far as where you're at that exact moment, I feel like I get way more people complaining about something being too big than being too small. So versatility, err on the side of a little smaller.
That's great advice. I also know your toys are ethically made, which when I was reading about that, I was like, wait, are toys dangerous for us? Like, can you
I think
exactly
for sure. I don't know that ethically is the word I would use, because just the thing that most people are not aware of is any electronic item, including our iPhones and computers, is made in China. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not ethically made, but because I am not a manufacturer, I can only speak to the information that I know about how a brand is advertising and, you know, again, to the best of my knowledge, how their warehouse is run. So I think body safe is more what I mean when I say that. Because unfortunately, in the world of big manufacturing, there's not a single industry where there isn't an ethical concern, and that's just unfortunately reality.
Yeah.
Just the dark reality of capitalism. But when it comes to materials, there are sex toy materials that are toxic, and because sex toys are completely unregulated due to them being classified as novelties, they can get away with a lot. They can make themselves seem like more medical and certified and like approved than they really are. And basically what that means is that you end up with materials that are banned in things like children's toys, but aren't banned in sex toys, even though that's something coming into contact with your mucous membranes. So phthalates are like a plastic softener that you commonly see. Like if your sex toy smells like a shower curtain, ditch it.
Yeah, okay.
But silicone, stainless steel, Pyrex, which is like tempered glass, there's a lot of other bad body safe materials as well, but those are some big ones that are non-porous, body safe. And you know, I really try to pick the toys that if I haven't tried it out or someone on my staff hasn't tried it out, it's got a lot of reviews from people I trust. But I do want to speak to the ethical element. I mean, I do think that people need to be aware of how things are manufactured just in every aspect of life. And unfortunately, the things that are quote unquote ethically made, and it's like, what's your definition of ethical, right? Those are the things that cost more money.
Yeah.
And like, just even think about clothing. Like if you want something like fast fashion is cheap and unethical. So people want things that are ethical, but they also don't want to spend the money that supports people being paid ethical wages and treated ethically. So I think that's not something I have the solution to, but definitely something to consider when you're buying anything, not just sex toys.
Right. We're here to solve problems. Another thing about sex toys, a question that I wanted to ask you while I have you here, because this gets debated on like podcasts I listen to. Friends of mine have debated this too, and I was wondering what is your take on reusing toys that you used in a previous monogamous relationship?
Oh,
have you heard this one before?
Yes. There's not one catch-all answer. It's going to depend on you, and it's going to depend on the other people involved. I think it's always better to err on the side of disclosing. You know, like, again, something non-porous, especially if it's a dildo that isn't motorized, you can boil it, and for all intents and purposes, it is sanitized. But I know that there's a lot of people who don't give a damn if it's sanitized. They're just like, give me my own dick, please. So I think that it's a really great conversation to have. You can just be honest and say, listen, this is my toy collection. These have been used with other people. I have sanitized them to the best of my ability. They are non-porous. But having said that, if you want to go shopping with me, we can get some special stuff for us. But also, we have all these other things available to us. I just want to make that quick disclaimer. And it is a thing, like, especially with strap-on harnesses and dildos.
Right.
Especially a strap-on harness. It depends what it's made out of, but like leather, you cannot disinfect. I would not recommend using a leather harness with more than one partner, for instance. But I do think that there's a person who would be like, yeah, just boil the dildo and let's fuck with it. And then there's someone who's going to be like, fuck no. So
yeah, I mean, I guess that's why I wanted to ask your take on it, because I've heard everyone's opinion varies on that. So good to know. How about you, Skin? What do you say?
I don't know. I got to run upstairs and get rid of all my leather. Thank you.
I mean, and I think it depends on the item. Like a flogger is so much different from a harness. It's not, I mean, you can certainly use a flogger on intimate, juicy bits. But I think with a flogger, I don't want to say it's more assumed, but I think that when I'm at least interacting with someone's flogger, I'm like, I'm not the first person you're using this on. But again, it's like you have to have that conversation. And I don't think we're in the habit of having even consent conversations in this world. So it is like a next step to then be like, okay, so now you have to have this about your sex toys. But it's something really easy to slip into like the whole sexually transmitted infection and safer sex conversation also, because depending on the material, if it is a porous material, then you can't sanitize it. So knowing your materials, knowing the history, I mean, I think that it shouldn't just be the receiver's job to ask, but if you ever are uncomfortable, I think we do need to normalize being like, let's just check in about this, but also as the owner of the toys, being honest about that as well.
This would be a great thing to see in a TV or movie, if anyone's listening.
Wow, really, really boring. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I think it's interesting because I've heard people talk about it, but in general, I mean, like a lot of talk around sex toys still feels a little hush hush, like people don't want to admit what they have, what they're doing. And I wanted to pivot a little bit to talk about your book, Carnal Knowledge. It's out. You see that? Look at that. Beautiful
it
words.
Kind of looks like a movie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So your book is out. It's been out for about a week, right?
What
has the reception been like?
Positive, but surreal. I have been working on this book for quite a long time, and what a bizarre time to be releasing a book. I thought I would be, doing different types of book events, but it's been really exciting to be able to do stuff virtually instead. I basically just wanted to make a book that is, well, they're called public service announcements, PSAs, in that like each page is its own topic that, it's not going super deep. It's about a page long for each topic, but it starts with more basic stuff like anatomy, lube, sex, relationship stuff. But then as we go further in the book, get into stuff regarding, social change and, stuff like sex and disability and things that really work their way into more social justice issues, because it is very relevant to all the larger issues we're seeing today, racial justice, all of it. You can't divorce sexuality and intimacy from the other ways that we interact with each other as humans. So I wanted it to be something that would plant a seed in your brain if you're wondering about something, and show you an overview of kind of like all the things that I think are the most important topics today.
Oh, now did you start off with that kind of I guess this, I don't want to say like messaging or whatever, but you know, these themes that we've been seeing in the last year, did you kind of start with that in mind, or did it kind of infiltrate as you were writing and the world was turning?
Well, I finished writing the book well before COVID happened,
Okay.
so that's definitely important to know. There's coincidentally a page that's like, don't be too online, make sure you see people in person too. And it's like, well, now you have to be more online. Sorry.
Editorial note. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's still relevant, but it originally was an article for a magazine called Topic. My friend Liz, who is the photographer, she's the current photo editor at the New Yorker, but we've been friends for 10 years. And she was asked to do a series for Topic. She wanted to invite me to do the words for it, since I am a writer. And I believe it was 7 tips. It started out as 7 tips. Just public service announcements about sex. And then Prestel, the publisher, who's more of an art book publisher.
I mean, even when you showed us some pages, it looked pretty designed.
Yeah, I mean, it's hardcover. The paper stock is thick and it smells like an art book. So it's definitely something you could read cover to cover, or just flip open to a random page and pick something up from it. Then Prestel was just like, hey, we want to turn this article into a book. And it was just such an easy format for me to work with. I hate to make the comparison, but in a world where I used to be using social media like Instagram to get out important messages,
right.
I'm, slowly starting to back away from that because I don't feel like it is the arena I want to be working in anymore. I kind of just took the topics that I would bring up on Instagram throughout the last 5 years, and the things that really sparked conversation. I kind of transformed all those topics into a page, and of course added additional things. But that was a really great starting point to know, here's what really resonates with people or makes people bust into online fighting, because even the stuff that makes people be like, oh my God, this is so true for me, it's almost like the more of a deeper note it hits when it strikes a chord with people. That's the stuff that makes people feel really seen, and also the stuff that makes people feel crazy.
That's always the way, you're not going to make everyone happy.
Oh, certainly not. I've become a much less sensitive person throughout the years. Yeah. Or, a thicker skin. That's what the better way of saying that.
You kind of have to be in this business. When you mentioned Instagram, I mean, you probably get all kinds of comments that have been a little, unsavory. You have to remind yourself not to look at the comments.
Yeah. And you know what? It's just as much people who disagree with me as people who agree with me. I definitely think on social media, you lack the tone of voice and context to really be able to hear what someone is saying. So on social media, it's so easy to just pick apart something you see, because there's no way to have a conversation back and forth about it, or the context of a book or a podcast or a film to show the intention. So it's really negatively impacted my mental health. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I think that the other night I was watching the Paris Hilton documentary, and on a very micro scale, I was like, wow, I think this is a thing that a lot of people need to be aware of, as, a person, her as a person who hit the first domino on selfie culture and social media. I think it's important to pay attention.
Yeah. On sex tape culture too, if you really want to talk about it. I mean,
and that's not something that she planned, No. I think there is this narrative around sex tapes being this ticket to stardom, and I think they are certainly planned by some people, but for her, she says it wasn't. And that's revenge porn. And the only difference between a sex tape and revenge porn is the clout around it and the media coverage around it. So it doesn't make the person who is being exploited feel any better.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
well, I was going to also ask you if there was anything, I know that you just released a book, but now that that's done out into the world, what do you have coming up? Are you working on anything else you can talk to us about?
Great question. I mean, I've certainly been living my life very differently during COVID. I used to travel all the time, and obviously that's not possible or as possible. I really love being on camera, but I also just love writing. And I would love to be writing another book. I'm certainly taking a breather right now.
Yeah.
And honestly, just trying to take care of my mental health. I'm like a very openly, mentally ill person. And I say that with love, but I have a lot of intense issues with trauma, sexual trauma. And this has been a great opportunity to really slow down. That doesn't mean that I'm not working honestly all day, every day.
Right. I know you have a podcast too that you're still
Yes.
recording, right?
Yeah. And we're doing, actually, no, it's good you bring that up, because we are doing an interview series for Hot Brain, the podcast I do with my boyfriend, Ron Ecstasy, huge Mr. Skin fan. And we're interviewing porn stars and people who are just in various aspects of the adult industry, which we've done before, but we wanted to bring those back. The last series we did, we recorded at AVN, which do you all go to AVN?
Yeah, I went 20 years in a row, and this January was the first year I didn't go since 2000. And I'm kind of thankful I didn't, with everything that transpired, because I'm sure there was some virus.
Right, the AVN flu. Yeah.
But yeah, it's sad because there's just no way they're going to be able to do it in January. It's just too soon,
I know. Yeah.
So.
I mean, one of my favorite expos, but.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us today. I think that's everything from us. Like we said, she's got a book out, Carnal Knowledge. Everyone go check it out. Listen to her podcast, Hot Brain. And thank you so much, Zoe. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really